Hello, class. Welcome to Module 4, Social Justice, Human Rights, and Indigenous Rights. The important concepts for this module are human rights, social justice, and the rights of Indigenous people. Human rights were established through the United Nations after World War II in response to the Holocaust against Jewish people in Europe. And so there are 6 different acts of genocide that were defined underneath that. Prior to that, there was no legal definition of genocide, although genocidal acts did occur. And so the establishment of the human rights framework has been one that's Western, meaning Western European, and not always focusing on specific aspects of Indigenous people and American Indian and Alaska Native peoples whose concepts of justice are different. So we'll take a look at some of those concepts with the readings that we're doing and provide you some context as well. And so a social justice framework is very important to have as an advocate, but you have to understand how the group that you're working with defines social justice. You can't necessarily impose a social justice framework that doesn't take into account the history and culture of the group that you're working with. So that's what we're really trying to get at with this module, is for you to learn more about what that social justice framework should be for Indigenous peoples and American Indian and Alaska Natives. And then the rights of Indigenous people is established under the United Nations. And so the resources on this module will help you learn about what is the definition of Indigenous, which rights are applicable, and then you'll get a chance to read the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. And that was passed in 2007, and recently in 2017 they had a 10-year anniversary. So there's a video on how that's been utilized by different Indigenous groups around the world. And so when we say that American Indian and Alaska Natives are Indigenous, that gives the people a commonality with different colonized groups in all continents. Some additional important concepts that we're going to learn through our textbook in the Rights of Indians and Tribes is Chapter 9, Public Policy and the Legal Rights of Indians. And so there's 3 main areas of that chapter on civil liberties of American Indians, American Indian religious freedoms, and the right to basic government services. And so American Indians are dual citizens of the United States and of their tribes. But federal efforts historically have been focused on forcing individuals to relinquish their tribal citizenship in order to obtain the basic civil rights that all Americans have. And so historically, American Indian and Alaska Native people have had to relinquish, no longer participate in their tribal governments in order to vote, in order to access education outside of the reservation or communities. And so, but the basic thing that we need to know is that American Indians possess all the rights of tribal members as outlined in their tribal constitutions and bylaws. They're recipients of basic services in regard to land holdings within their reservations and communities, and they're citizens of the state and the United States that have access to voting and all of the other freedoms that other citizens enjoy. Voting rights is discussed in this chapter as well in terms of the civil liberties. And at one time in Arizona, the state interpreted that all tribal citizens were persons under disability. And this was because of their status as wards of the federal government, which is something that was stated in a court case, which we'll learn about in the next module. But that was a misinterpretation because the ward status was a status that was conferred upon tribes as groups, not tribal individuals. And so this was applied incorrectly, in my opinion. I'm not a lawyer, so can't really argue that necessarily legally. But this chapter discusses the issues around voting rights, and this is important because we have an election this year. We still have issues with voting rights with our communities and citizens. The American Indian religious freedoms, this is a very unique and important topic for tribal people because the federal government essentially made efforts to stop the practices of American Indians and outlaw the practices and ceremonial practices of many tribes in order to assimilate them into society. Um, and so this also includes access to sacred sites, access to ceremonies, access to certain things of individuals that may not regularly be able to access them wherever they're at. And a good example of that is people in prison that have limited access to sweat lodges or other types of healing ceremonies, medicine, people that can come in and heal them spiritually. They have to jump through a lot of hoops in order to do this. Whereas if you wanted to send somebody a Bible in prison, it wouldn't be too hard. And so those are the types of things that Indigenous people and American Indians have to face when they're institutionalized. And then the right to basic government services, just a brief part of the chapter talks about um, education and social services. We often hear the misconception that, oh, if you're a Native American, then everything you get is free. Well, we don't want to think like that, because when we think about the land, that 99% of the land holdings that tribes had agreed to relinquish not all of that land, but a lot of that land in order to be able to have rights to basic government services. That was part of the exchange. Also, a lot of our people, did not make it. They died in war, they died in famine, and they died in sickness because there wasn't immunity to diseases. And so when we think about it, there was a lot of loss um, throughout the course of history. So when someone says that these things are free, that's not the case. Plus, tribes individually have the option to invest in their people. So for, say, a tribal scholarship, maybe about 25% of a scholarship would come from the federal government, and tribes opt to pay as much as they can. Some tribes opt to pay a full ride scholarship, and they're paying most of that through their general funds. And so that's a matter and a decision by the individual tribe, not necessarily something that's free, but it's something that we decide to give our own citizens as tribal nations. In this module, there is some content about the No DAPL movement, and DAPL stands for Dakota Access Pipeline, and this really brought a lot of the indigenous rights issues to the forefront in the United States. And many of the tribal nations in the United States went to Standing Rock Sioux Reservation in North Dakota to protest the building of this pipe. And so you can see here that this was the original proposed route of the pipeline, excuse me. What happened was the city of Bismarck did not want this pipe crossing the Missouri River upriver from where they were at, and so they objected to it. So the pipeline route was diverted, and it was diverted to just above the Standing Rock Reservation. Okay, so the question is, what makes the city of Bismarck have a valid argument against the pipeline above their community? Why is the Standing Rock Reservation not treated the same way? Okay, so this is, we think of it as an environmental issue, but it means a lot more. It means a lot about indigenous rights. This particular website here is from the National Museum of American Indians. The slides will be posted on the canvas, and you'll be able to click on that website as well. Finally, I wanted to share this American Indian Alaska Native Rights Framework. Okay, so this was borrowed from a different article, and what we did here is we added some considerations. And the reason why political is a different color is because this framework here combines civil and political. But when we're thinking about American Indian Alaska Native rights, political is a separate consideration. And then we see all these unique rights, the treaty rights, federal trust relationships, rights to determine who your membership is, your citizens of your tribe, right to meaningful consultation with both state and federal government, right to cross international borders without a passport. So those are many of the political rights that tribes and individuals have. And so take a look at this. It's in one of the readings as well to get an understanding of what are the types of rights. So when we look at the No DAPL, it wasn't just an issue of environmental rights. There were social rights, there were economic rights, civil rights, the rights to protest without being brutalized, cultural aspects, environmental, there's a spiritual component. And if we think about having access to clean water as a survival right, then yes. So all of these types of rights were involved. It's not just an environmental issue. So there's a lot to learn in this module, but it'll be very eye-opening to everyone. And so here are the readings that we want you to do. And I wish you happy learning and best of luck with this. And if you have any questions, email your instructor.